folks, it's Jeff here. Just a quick reminder, if you're loving Disney Coast to Coast, there are a couple of easy ways that you can support the show. We'd love it if you could rate and review us on iTunes, or wherever you listen to the show. This is a simple way to help other Disney fans find us. Also, go ahead and share your favorite episodes on social media and be sure to tag us. You can find all of our social media information at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. And finally, I just want to say thank you to all of you who listen every week. Your support is very appreciated, and we love that you're enjoying our Disney geekiness. Now on with the show.
Do you dream of fairies and princesses? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePaoli, and in today's House of Mouse headlines, Pixar Fest has begun at the Disneyland Resort, the Tokyo Disneyland Resort is celebrating 35 years, and a famous purple wall has gotten a facelift. That and so much more, so let's get to it.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
Let's start things off with Pixar Fest. Now, as you may remember in this past Wednesday's episode of Disney Coast to Coast, we talked about how Pizza Port over at Disneyland's Tomorrowland was going to become Alien Pizza Planet. And the transformation has begun. Pixar Fest opened officially this weekend. And, you know, some things look great, some things not so much. I gotta say, this Alien Pizza Planet looks really cheap, is the word I would use. They've hung up some new posters in there, put some decals on the windows, have some green alien statues, I guess, and a rocket inside. But the thing that really is driving me crazy is the signage on the exterior of this building. Now, if you remember the Pizza Port sign, it's, you know, a professional storefront looking sign. And what they've decided to do for this is simply hang a banner in front of that sign, and the banner doesn't even cover the entire Pizza Port sign, so you can definitely tell there's something behind it. It kind of seems like they're trying to create this story of like the aliens hung this up, because there are actually a couple aliens up there as well that kind of look like they're in the process of hanging this banner. But I gotta tell you, it's one of the cheapest things I've ever seen in my life. To the point that I actually thought when I first saw a photo, I thought it was a joke. I thought people were joking about this. And nope, come to find out, this is the sign for Alien Pizza Planet at Disneyland for the next several months. It's embarrassing. That's the only word I can think. It's truly embarrassing. So, I don't know. It looks like a building under construction at the moment. And I don't know. I just can't believe what they've done to it. And the other bummer is, and not that I expected this, but like when you say you're going to create a Pizza Planet, if you think back on Toy Story, the Pizza Planet was like an arcade. It was like a Chuck E. Cheese. They had an arcade. They had these really cool alien slime dispensers. None of that is there. I didn't expect that. And frankly, I was okay without that. I get it. It was just a temporary overlay. But the sign really has me going crazy. And speaking of Toy Story, I actually just recorded an audio commentary for the film Toy Story. If you want to listen to that, you can check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/DCTC. My patrons of Disney Coast to Coast, that's available for you now over on the Patreon website as well. But I did also want to mention a tweet that I got from Elizabeth Mock about last Wednesday's episode in Pizza Planet. She wrote, "By the way, Jeff, on DCTC, you were wondering why they can't just call it Pizza Planet like the movie. And I think it's because there's a real restaurant called Pizza Planet in Texas. And that restaurant has the actual rights to the name. You can even Google it and it shows up." That may or may not be true. Thank you for that info, Elizabeth. I didn't think of that, to be honest. I don't know if necessarily if a store in Texas would have like worldwide rights to that name. I don't know, but you may be right. That might have something to do with them naming it Alien Pizza Planet instead of just Pizza Planet. Now moving on, I have some more food news for you, and I gotta just take a moment here to apologize to the Mad Chatters, who I constantly make fun of for talking about food on their show constantly, and I gotta be honest, this week's episode of Disney Coast to Coast right now has a lot of food to talk about. So to the Mad Chatters, I bow to you. In any case, I just wanted to mention there were these tacos back during the whole Coco celebration over at Disney California Adventure that I fell in love with and was very upset that they went away. I am happy to report that over at the Paradise Garden Grill for Pixar Fest, they have the Tacos de Estilo Callejero. Sorry, totally butchered that, but that's what they're called. And it's a trio of sirloin beef tacos with pickled vegetables, golden rice, and black beans. And they are delicious. They're really, really good. If you are a fan of tacos, I think it's basically the pickled vegetables that make them really delicious, more so than any other regular taco you would get at the Disney parks. Try these out. Oh my goodness, they're so good. There's also some new character dining coming to the Disneyland Resort over at the Storytellers Cafe in the Grand California. And they previously had a character meal there featuring critters, I think was the theme, but now it's going to be Mickey's Tale of Adventure. And they describe it as, here you'll discover the fun with your storyteller Mickey as he welcomes you into the immersive tales of adventure through his magical adventurer's journal. So it sounds like there may be some bit of a story with this character meal. Also over at Disney's PCH Grill at the Paradise Pier Hotel, we have Donald Duck's Seaside Breakfast coming, where Donald has been reunited with his true love Daisy, and you'll be able to join in on their exciting rendezvous with a dance party featuring the two lovebirds and Stitch while chowing down at an all-you-can-eat breakfast buffet. This one is interesting as well, so there's going to be a dance party as part of it, more than just a character meet and greet type of thing. So it sounds like the character meals are becoming more than just photo opportunities. Now, something I'm excited about happening over at Disney California Adventure is the Blue Sky Cellar is reopening. There are a lot of projects in the works over at the Disneyland Resort, and right now inside the Blue Sky Cellar you can go check out the models and some artwork and some concepts for Pixar Pier, which of course is opening this June. So check that out while it's there, and I'm sure once Pixar Pier is finished, we'll probably get some models for maybe Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge, and perhaps the Marvel Land that's coming to Disney California Adventure. So my guess is the Blue Sky Cellar will be open for quite some time. Now heading over to Walt Disney World, I can't even believe that this is a story, but apparently it is. The Purple Wall over at Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom that has somehow become famous and infamous all at the same time. If you don't know what this is, there was a purple wall over there that became a very social media savvy spot to get photos taken. And it became like a hashtag and a real thing. And Disney saw this and decided to do something about it. So they actually have redesigned the purple wall. So it used to just be a solid purple color. Now they have a design on it. It's a lot of triangles. To be completely honest, it reminds me of Spaceship Earth. It just kind of has that Spaceship Earth design on it. But this is over in Tomorrowland at the Magic Kingdom. So I guess if you're into the whole purple wall thing, head on over to Tomorrowland for a new photo op. Speaking of photo opportunities, you can now get a magical shot with Pua. If you're not sure what a magical shot is, this is the thing that goes along with those Disney PhotoPass photos where they'll add in a character later when they print out the photo. So they'll add Tinkerbell or Mickey or whomever, but now an option is Pua from the movie Moana, which is the cute little pig in that movie. If you want to get a magical shot with Pua, head over to Rafiki's Planet Watch at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Those Disney PhotoPass people kind of are sporadic throughout the day, but you can catch them there. Now for some more food news over on the Disney Cruise Line, they're actually having all of these different culinary excursions based on the TV show The Chew on ABC, and they're offering some culinary classes with local chefs and dishes depending on where your cruise is heading. And for the Alaska one, you can even catch your own seafood and cook it. This is pretty cool if you're into the culinary arts. I do find it funny though because, you know, culinary classes are not cheap. They always have a pretty nice price tag on them. And of course, at the end of the class, you get to eat your food. And I always find it funny that like you're literally paying more money to prepare your own meal than you would be if you went to a restaurant and were paying somebody else to do it. Kind of funny, but obviously it's all about the experience. Now let's head over to Disneyland Paris, where they're getting ready for the Disneyland Paris Magic Run. And this year, they have a theme to it. The theme is villains, and it will be taking place from September 20th through the 23rd. They have a few different races you can do. They have the 5K, which goes through the Walt Disney Studios Park, the 10K, which goes through Disneyland Park and the Walt Disney Studios Park, and a half marathon that goes through both parks and villages around the resort, as well as the 31K and 36K challenges. So if you like to pay money to run, head on over to Disneyland Paris. Also happening over at the Disneyland Paris Resort, we have Marvel Night happening on July 7th. Now this is an annual pass holder event only. You have to be a Magic Plus or an Infinity annual pass holder, and you can bring up to 2 guests if you are one of those 2 annual pass holder members. And this is kind of perhaps a sneak peek because they have the Summer of Superheroes coming on June 10th to Disneyland Paris. So maybe you'll get some sneak peek stuff there, but should be pretty cool. AP events tend to be fun. Now let's head over to the Tokyo Disneyland Resort, where they're currently celebrating their 35th anniversary, which begins on April 15th of 2018 and goes through March 25th of 2019. And they're doing quite a few different things for this, but one of the things I saw was they have a pretty cool projection show. And this is nice because it's a short little 2-minute projection show. It's more of a happening, not one of those things that you wait hours for. It's just kind of a nice little surprise as you're walking down World Bazaar, which is their version of Main Street USA. But the difference between Main Street and World Bazaar is it's covered. It has a cover over it, although it's still open air outside kind of. And because of that, they can do some really cool projections. It features Peter Pan, Lion King, Little Mermaid, and it was really cool. The video I saw was really, really nice. Also, as part of the 35th anniversary over at Tokyo Disneyland, they have a new parade called Dreaming Up. And I gotta tell you, this parade, I just watched video of it, was fantastic. It kind of put our parades to shame. And it was probably my favorite daytime parade that I've ever seen. It was really, really cool. They had a really nice Alice in Wonderland float where the tea party table was up in the air and it was kind of swaying back and forth. And then, oh my goodness, the King of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, that was like a costume character, the tiny little King of Hearts. Pinocchio had a cool float. The princess float, where the princess is hanging on pedestals from above. So if you can picture the pedestals that the princesses are on in Paint the Night, they were hanging from something on a float above. So they're floating in the air. It was really cool. Beauty and the Beast had these 2 floats that were connected by a bridge. Big Hero 6 had a float. And then the finale is a flying float featuring Mary Poppins, who flies in a very similar fashion to Tinkerbell in Paint the Night Parade, and a Peter and Wendy float where they're flying on wires, essentially, but a really cool, kind of acrobatics, Cirque du Soleil type of acrobatics going on. And it was very, very cool. When you have a moment, I highly suggest you check out Dreaming Up, the new parade over at Tokyo Disneyland. Now for some Star Wars news. Let me just say, if you haven't seen The Last Jedi, perhaps you can take this as a spoiler alert. I guess if you haven't seen it at this point, you probably don't care. But in any case, a freelance writer named J.M. McNabb made a connection between The Last Jedi and A New Hope. What he realized is that Luke Skywalker's story begins with Princess Leia sending a projection of herself asking for help in the movie Star Wars A New Hope. That's that famous "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi" scene. But at the end of The Last Jedi, Luke is sending a projection of himself to help Princess Leia, which is really cool. I personally love this. I love when things are bookended really nicely and are in that nice little package. I think that this is a super cool realization. Like I said, I don't really know if this is done on purpose or not, but it's cool nonetheless. I hope it was done on purpose because I think it's genius. In more Star Wars news, we have the Solo trailer that has come out. And to me, it looks like a very lighthearted Star Wars movie. It looks enjoyable. I know there's some mixed reactions on this, but the one thing I will say is the actor who's playing Han Solo, who I don't really know, to be honest, but I don't really know if I believe him as Han Solo. I mean, that's such a pop culture character at this point that I don't know if I believe that that's a younger version of Han Solo, but maybe in the whole film, maybe it's more clear. It was also a lot of fun to see the Millennium Falcon in the film clean, which is something I don't think we've ever really seen before. Of course, it's always run down and dirtied up in the Star Wars films that we're used to, so it's fun to see a clean Millennium Falcon. And of course, Solo, A Star Wars Story, comes out in theaters on May 25th. Speaking of the Millennium Falcon, over at the GPU Technology Conference, Walt Disney Imagineering showcased some test ride footage for the Millennium Falcon ride coming to Galaxy's Edge. Now, it was basically, if you were just watching the video, it's kind of like a Star Tours experience is what it looked like, but the cool thing about it was that they were showing, and I don't know if this is actually part of the finalized ride or if this is just them testing stuff out, but it kind of seemed like the rider could affect what we were seeing, so kind of like a virtual reality thing where if you had on goggles and looked to the right, you'd see stuff over to the right and vice versa. So it looked kind of cool that way. And it also was not on a flat screen is what it looked like. The shape of the image looked like it was going to be on some sort of concave screen. Perhaps you might be familiar with something like this. Slightly in Soarin', but even more prominent in something like Back to the Future, The Ride, which was over at Universal Studios. So it's pretty cool. Now, links for this footage, as well as other videos I previously mentioned today, will be in the episode description. And finally, we got some news about DuckTales, which has been so successful over on Disney XD that it's going to be moving over to the Disney Channel in May. New episodes of DuckTales will begin airing on Friday, Sunday, May 4th. Now, before we get going, of course, we got to discuss this week's Twitter poll. On this past Wednesday's episode of Disney Coast to Coast, we had a conversation all about Pixar Fest. So I asked you guys on Twitter, what part of Pixar Fest are you most excited for? The options were Paint the Night, Pixar Play Parade, Together Forever, or the food. And the order in which you voted, 4% of you voted for Pixar Play Parade, and then 9% of you voted for Together Forever, the Nighttime Spectacular, 17% of you voted for the food, and a whopping 70% of you voted for Paint the Night Parade. Listen, I'm not surprised that Paint the Night won, but I cannot believe that the food beat out Together Forever, the Nighttime Spectacular. You guys are crazy. If you want to be crazy and vote along, make sure you're following DIZNEYCTC over on Twitter so that you can be part of the Twitter poll every single week. Of course, guys, if you want bonus rewards from Disney Coast to Coast, check out our Patreon page and start supporting the show over at patreon.com/DCTC. As I mentioned, I did release recently a Toy Story audio commentary. If you want to check that out, check out the Patreon page. All of our social media can be found over at DisneyCoastToCoast.com, and of course, every single day on Instagram Live, we are playing the Daily Disney Decision. Are you part of the Daily Disney Decision every day? You should be. Follow us over on Instagram. It's DIZNEYCTC. Everything you need can be found at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. And of course, a big thank you to Philip Elke. This episode of Disney Coast to Coast was produced by Philip Elke, who has supported the show through Patreon. If you'd like to become a DCTC producer or gain other rewards, more information can be found at patreon.com/DCTC. But for now, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for watching Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com.